Thank you, and welcome back again to Expansion of Consciousness. I'm your host, Jason Medlock. We're going to have a wonderful guest this evening. We always talk about staying in contact with the higher self, or how to, have an understanding with the subconscious mind. So today we're going to have Laura, who is a psychic medium, a spiritual counselor, and she's going to come in and just talk about a lot of tangible ways to build these type connections and possibly sustain them. But again, we want to offer a number of different coaches, a number of different spiritual advisors, spiritual teachers, people who have figured out how to move themselves or help others move their quality of life in directions that they want, in directions that make them feel good. So I want to bring all type of people like that on the show to experience exactly just that. But Laura is an international spiritual counselor, innovative coach, and a psychic medium. She has a laser-like way of seeing relevant details in all areas of your life. She is perceptive in ways that feel like her own most profound knowing. She brings a compassion and a nonsense approach to her work, and a considerable capacity to see and outline the most positive, life affirming way to go forward. She is both a seer and a counselor. And, we talk about seers all the time. People will see, that can see. The people who hear will hear. But it's refreshing. It's a refreshing combination that Laura possesses. Her passion is empowering people to live authentically and passionately as possible, and aligning their lives with their divine mission, and discovering and developing their spiritual gifts. And without any further ado, I want to bring on Laura Horick. How you doing, Laura?
Good, and you got that right the first time too. That was impressive.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate it. And I could have gone on and on, with all the incredible work that you've done, and the number of people you helped. And every coach or practitioner or teacher that comes on, they have a story about this time I knew this is what I was going to be doing. What is your journey been like in finally figuring out this is how you would be working in this space and actually starting to work in this space? Walk us through that process.
Oh, well, it's been quite the journey because I discovered very young that I had gifts.
Mhm.
But then I kind of shut that off I did some exploring. For example, when I was about 10 or 11 years old, I wasn't raised in a religious or a spiritual family, but I was curious from a very young age. And I was like 10 or 11 years old, and we lived in a subdivision where there was lots of different types of churches around. And I decided one day that I was going to go and find where God and the angels were. So every Sunday for about I don't know, 5 or 6 Sundays at least in a row, I went off on, because back in the day you were always told that to go to church you had to be dressed, right? It's not the same anymore, but that's the way it used to be. So I would go off and to a different church every Sunday. And I found out in short order that, from my perspective, God and the angels didn't live in a church.
Right.
And then as I grew, I found I became very enthralled with nature and the wilderness. And I did a lot of hiking and camping and all those wonderful things. And that's where I found my connection, was
Right.
in nature. That's where I found my connection. So that was the beginning. And then I went off into a career in advertising and marketing and sales, which has nothing to do with what I'm doing now. And I did that for about 30 years. And then I think everybody has kind of an event or something that happens in their life that shifts them to a different path. And mine was the sudden death of my partner. And so then I went through an incredible healing journey, and I really didn't know where to go from that point. And then I was just led to my coaching and counseling practice, and because I had a huge, deep desire to help others. And through helping others, as we all know, or as we all discover, through helping others, we often help to heal ourselves. And that's kind of how I got to where I am now. So I've been
And
doing this full time for about 10 years. So
that's
it's,
awesome. And I've read, through your bio and on your website, what was it like to have an out of body experience at such a
oh,
young age? How was that experience? Because I've had one before, but I want you to share it with the audience.
okay. Well, this
Uh,
is what Jason's referring to is when I was 15. This was part of my wilderness experience. I did a lot of climbing, rock climbing, and rappelling, and I was at the top of a cliff that we were rappelling off, and I was just looking out onto all the beautiful lakes in the forest, and all of a sudden, it was just like it's very hard to put into words, but I'll make the attempt. What it felt like is all of a sudden, everything that was me just rocketed out of my body. And all of a sudden, I found myself, I guess you could say, in the sky, looking down on my cohorts that I was climbing with, and looking down on all the lakes and the beautiful trees in the forest. And I stayed there for a while and I looked around. I thought, wow, this is this is incredible. And then all of a sudden again there was this feeling of this just rush, this incredible energy. And again I rocketed up. And this time I found myself above the planet. And I'm
wow.
actually looking down onto the planet. And that was at the point where I realized what the astronauts used to talk about. Like, remember when they first were going to the moon, and they were talking about looking down on the earth and what a different perspective that gave
Right.
them about the earth. And that was wild. I thought, oh my God, what's next? And so it happened again, this huge rush of energy, and I rocketed up again. And all of a sudden, I found myself basically out in the universe, or out actually beyond the universe, because I was viewing other spiral universes. So I was
Uh-huh.
literally way out in space somewhere. And I was just like, and there was this incredible connection. You know, you hear a lot of people when they talk about near death experiences that they feel like they're connected to everything and they're one
Yes.
with everything. And like there was no fear, there was simply awe and wonder. And I literally felt like I was connected to everything. And I felt enormous. Like it's hard to describe. I felt like I was everywhere at once. Okay. So, but then all of a sudden, and I was waiting to see what was going to happen next. But then all of a sudden, I felt myself just being, it was like being sucked down the drain, like a very powerful drain. And all of a sudden, I was rushing all the way back, didn't make any stops, and bang, it was like a physical, it was like somebody hit me with a sledgehammer back into my body. And it was like I didn't fit. I didn't fit.
Wow.
And it was horribly confining. And it took me, well, I'm jumping ahead a little bit. It took me several days to actually kind of feel like the only way I can describe it is wriggled back in my body. But what had happened, I found out after I came to my senses, is one of the guys that I was climbing with, he got nervous because he figured that I was too close to the edge. So what he had done is he grabbed the back of my pants and literally pulled me back from the edge of the cliff. So when he did that, that is what sucked me back into the physical. But it was an incredible experience. I've actually tried in different ways to have a similar experience. I've never had an experience quite like that again, and I've been trying for for quite some time. Like
So do you think that that was s- the higher self doing, or the subconscious mind's doing for you to have that experience? Because obviously there are a lot of techniques out there to induce the out of body
yes,
experience, and
yes,
I used one that I got out of a book, Dr.
yeah.
Bob Monroe and Aaron Pavlin, and I used those techniques over and over and over, and then one day it happened. So I'm wondering, do you think that was of a higher ordinance that allows you to experience it in that way.
I think so. And I think also because, like, I think about everything in terms of energy, because everything is energy. And I think it's because there's a whole, when you're out in the wilderness, there's a whole different kind of energy. It's not like being, in a city or close to civilization or anything like that. I think it was a combination of a whole bunch of things. I think it was being in that energy, um, being in that sort of state of mind. And I think you're right. I think it had a lot to do with my higher self wanting me to have that experience, because I had set that intention from the time, because this happened, I was like, I would have been 15. Yeah, I would have been 15. So I had been basically on this self-imposed journey to find spirit, to find God, to find source, however you want to define it. It's all the same energy. So I think that intention was also a huge part of why that experience happened.
Well, so tell me, Laura, what do you experience when you're connected with people on the other side, or have you had that experience yet?
When I'm doing, that's in terms of when I'm doing mediumship, when I'm connecting
Yes.
to people on the other side. I don't, some people actually see dead people with their eyes. I don't do that. I actually see them in my mind's eye with my psychic senses.
Hmm.
Um, that is just, honestly, it's like talking to you, except it's different in the sense that um, it's more like telepathic communication. Like they put ideas and words and images and things into my head. And
Right.
then that's what a medium does. Like a medium has to translate those messages and give them to the people who they're for. And that's how I see my mediumship side of my practice, is delivering those healing and loving messages to people, because it's multifaceted, because one, it helps people know that life goes on, beyond this physical. The other side of it is that their loved ones are perfectly okay. In fact, they're better than okay. They're probably much better off than we are.
The
And
multidimensional being.
yeah, exactly, right. And it's also about them being able to receive, because these are very loving messages that come from the other side, and things that people really need to heal, for either healing their grief or healing their own lives, because a lot of times the messages that come from the other side are about how to help people navigate their own lives. So it's a different kind of process, but it's very similar. It's just more. I think telepathy is probably the best way to describe the way that I receive the information.
Mm. And
It's not
obviously we
exactly
all
telepathy, but that's the easiest way.
right. So obviously, this is not, there are people who can develop these skills out here. Uh, you know, you're accelerated, you've been blessed to be accelerated with this particular modality. So, are there any practical tips or practices that people
Okay.
can do to connect with their higher self or the subconscious mind that you would recommend?
Well, I need to clarify something, because
Mhm.
this is a very big misunderstanding. All people are psychic to some degree.
Mhm.
We're all born with psychic abilities. It's just like I use the example of playing basketball. Everybody can play basketball, but some people are born just natural athletes and they're really good at basketball. Other people are maybe mediocre, but they practice a lot, so they can become a fantastic basketball player. Okay, that's the same thing with your psychic ability. But the thing that people don't realize is mediumship and being a medium and being a psychic is not the same thing.
Mhm.
Okay, it's a different gift. So the way that I describe it is all mediums are psychic, but not all psychics are mediums. Okay. There's a lot of people out there who will tell you that they can make you into a medium. If you don't have the gift already, that's not true. Okay. If you were born with the gift of mediumship, then they can help you to get stronger and to get better. But if you're not born with that mediumship gift, they can't make you into a medium. That's the thing. Okay. But like I said, everybody's psychic, everybody has their own wisdom and their own intuition. And you can work on that and you can build that up over the course of your life, regardless of kind of what level that you start at. The best way is you need to really connect with yourself on multiple levels. And one of the biggest ways that people don't understand is connecting to your body. Because so many of the messages we get intuitively, so much of our psychic knowledge is delivered to us through our bodies, through our senses, through our emotions. So really need to be connected. So the two easiest and most effective ways that I find for people to connect to that psychic ability is through meditation
Mm-hmm.
and through body awareness of things like yoga, qigong, tai chi. A lot of the martial arts are very good for connecting people through their body. And the other thing is using your gift, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's a lot of it is experiential, and your guides you have to learn how to communicate with your guides, and your guides have to learn the best way to communicate with you. And that's a trial and error experimentation process. So you need to be involved in it. It just doesn't show up. Okay. So you need to it's something that you need to put effort and work into. And it's also something that you need to set intention for. Intentions are the most powerful things. And if you set an intention that this is something that you really want to do, you really want to develop your psychic senses, then that's what's going to drive those energies, and also have your guides, your angels circle around you and help you to manifest that intention.
So I'm just starting my spiritual walk. What is
Yeah.
the advantage of me building my psychic senses?
Well, as Spirit has always said to me, all my guides and angels have always said to me, they're here to help us and assist us. They're not here to make us dependent on them. Their
Right.
whole purpose is to help us to access our own abilities. So it's very important, if you want to be walking your spiritual path, to be in touch with your own intuition, your own wisdom, because that's how you're going to grow, and that's how you're going to get your knowledge. That's how you're going to seek out signs and messages and things like that. So if you're walking that's part of the spiritual walk. To me, that's the pinnacle. That's what that connecting to your authentic self, your soul self. Some people like to think of it as kind of like their inner child. Again, the semantics don't really matter. It's that connection that really matters.
Yes. And people are trying to figure out ways to build resiliency, in
Mhm.
this crazy, fast-paced world.
Yes.
So, and they're looking for services or for people who can help them do that. What is your format for holistic self-care in this current construct, this third dimensional earth that we live in?
Well, it's getting way past the 3D. I can tell you that. There's so many things going on.
Close to the five.
Yeah. Yeah. There's so many wild things going on. In fact, I had to laugh because before I came on, I sat back and realized we just went through a very, very powerful, energetic full moon and lunar eclipse. And in less than like 2 weeks, there's a huge a full on solar eclipse and they're calling it the most powerful solar eclipse in 5,000 years. Okay.
Really?
Oh, yes, there's a lot of energetic stuff going on. And we're also in the middle of Sun Cycle 25, which they're talking about Sun Cycle 25 as being the most powerful in the last 500 years. So you want to
Hmm.
talk about powerful energetics. And this is why personal resiliency is so important right now, because all these energetic things that are going on around us, they're sending all this crazy, powerful energy into the earth. But when it comes to earth, it also goes into us. Okay. It makes
Was
us
altering our DNA as well. It's
exactly.
changing the DNA for the new human, the new,
Exactly. And
you
well,
know?
you know what? I think it's not altering our DNA, it's turning on our DNA. Okay. Because
Right.
there's a whole pile of DNA that for
Activating.
centuries, well, ever since they found out about DNA, they didn't know what it was for because they couldn't figure out it wasn't really doing anything. Okay. And now I think that's what's happening is all this DNA that's been sitting there really, having a holiday, you know, not really doing anything is all of a sudden getting turned on.
Mhm.
And that's what's happening. So this is why we need to be resilient because we're going through so many shifts and changes so rapidly that if you're not taking care, in self care, we just talked about self
Right.
care is so important because if you're not taking care of yourself, especially if you're sensitive at all, you can really spin out. And I think that honestly, they keep talking about how much there's apparently been this rapid increase in mental illness. And actually, I don't think it's mental illness. Of course, there's legitimate mental illness in the world. But I think a lot of what's going on now is people's reactions to how quickly and how intensely the energy is changing.
Mm.
So
And that is
self care is now more important than ever.
that's a great point, and that's a great point. So in this particular lifetime,
Hmm.
we're here incarnated to learn, to experience emotions,
Yeah.
and to co-create.
Yep.
So just in your journeys and working with people and being practicing mediumship in this particular lifetime, what is the most critical task to be completed in your opinion?
It's really about raising our own vibration. Okay, raising our own vibration to the highest possible level because that's our own soul development, and
Mhm.
that's why we're here. This is Schoolhouse Earth, and the reason there's a lineup, trust me, there's a lineup to get into Earth, Schoolhouse Earth. There's souls lining up to get here, and the reason is because these challenges that we have to face, that is what increases our rapid development as a soul. Like we develop as a soul on the other side, I've been shown as well, but it's a much, much slower development because let's face it, there's not a whole heck of a lot of challenges on the other side like there is here. And the
Right.
more challenges we face, the more things we overcome in our lifetime, the more that we grow. So, I always say to people, if you have a challenging life, feel blessed.
This is the crux of my work, and
Yeah.
a lot of us follow Dolores Cannon with her past
Yes.
life regression therapy work, and these are some of the responses, the exact same things that you're
Yeah.
saying right now are some of the responses from when Dolores regresses them past the last day of the life into the
Yep.
spiritual realm. These are the responses of thousands of clients that she's spoken to,
Yep.
saying the exact same thing you're saying.
Imagine
Wow.
that.
Wow. Um, I wanted to ask, how does spiritual counseling differ from traditional forms of counseling? Uh,
Okay. Yeah.
can you share how you
Okay.
integrate
Well, the reason,
your point?
okay, I
Yeah.
will. Yeah, I will. The reason I call it spiritual counseling is I try to differentiate it from just getting a reading. Okay. There's sort of, I have to be careful the way I say some things.
Yes.
There's sort of been a tradition about readings that a lot of them are kind of more entertainment. People are looking, they're only looking for good things. They're not really looking to grow. It's more of a curiosity type of thing. Okay. My guides are not about that at all. My guides are about helping you to evolve your soul and have the best journey possible through this lifetime. So I always say that my guides are pretty kick-ass,
Yes.
because there's none of this. They don't sugarcoat stuff. They're not mean or nasty or anything like that. But what I'm saying is they do not sugarcoat anything. They tell you the way it is, and they are always on me to make sure that I don't start doing that. Okay, that's again where I've seen a lot of other people who are doing quote unquote readings will kind of sugarcoat things, or they'll kind of leave out things just that they don't think will get a good reaction. Let's just put it that way. But I feel my job and my journey is to help people really fix things. Okay, not band-aid solutions, not treating symptoms. And this is what I love about spirit, because spirit goes directly to the root of the issue, and it doesn't matter whether the root is this lifetime or the root is in a previous lifetime. So go ahead.
Well, can you share how you integrate your clairvoyant abilities into your sessions? That,
Okay. Yeah.
yes. And I
Well,
know
it's like
it provides a deeper.
we're speaking here, okay? You think you're just speaking to me? Every time I do an interview or I talk about spirit or I do, my guides are here. And
Right.
they've actually been bugging me lately to start speaking in the we, which which I've been resisting because I think it sounds a little bit pompous and arrogant to be, but it's the truth. Because when I'm speaking to you, or when I'm speaking to a client, or when I'm speaking to a group about spirit, my guides, my boys and girls are all there. Okay,
Mhm.
so it's like we're speaking with one voice. It's not just me speaking. So it's really actually quite humorous because, like you said, when you had all those Dolores Cannon about people from past lives. It's because it's not just me. Okay, it's my whole group, and I have a pretty sizable
Mhm.
group of guides and angels on the other side. But that's my process. I am a channel for my guides and angels, and when I'm working with a client, their guides and angels are also involved. So, the two teams kind of get together up here, and then they funnel stuff through me that their person needs to hear. And the wonderful thing I love is because spirit is always reciprocal. It's never one sided. It's never going in one direction. So every person, I tell my clients this all the time. Every person I work with, I get something out of that session as well. Like, it's not just their stuff. There's some kind of learning, there's some kind of information that comes through for me as well, because that's how spirit works.
Mm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. You mentioned helping individuals navigate life changes, and
Yeah.
do you have any fun stories for us? Anyone who's profoundly transformed. Have you witnessed, a person's growth that has been impacted by your program?
Oh, hugely. I have to sort of think about it because I tell you, I don't. I have to ask for assistance, because when I'm in session, I don't remember. After that session is over with that person, I don't remember that.
Mhm.
If I
Gotcha.
remembered everything that happened in every session, I'd be in a little tight white jacket and I'd be in a little padded room, because there's just too much information. But when I need something from a past session or something, with a client, they will bring that information forward and they will remind me. So they just reminded me of one gal that I worked with through my coaching program, and just a wonderful gal. But when I first met her, she was she was in a bad abusive relationship. She was having mental health issues. She was living in the wrong place. She was having trouble with her two sons, and we worked together for about 2 years, and she transformed her entire life. She got out of that relationship.
Wow.
She developed a much better relationship with her sons. She moved back to New Jersey, where she was from. She got back into her teaching. She got a great job. She now has, actually for a while now, she now has a wonderful partner. who she just says is, her life partner. Like, it's gone from like 0 to 60. Like the way that her life was going when I met her, and now 2-3 years down the road, I haven't worked with her for a while either, just on an occasional session basis. But we work together through my coaching program, which I call Create the Life That You Really Want. Imagine that.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay. So that
I have
was
some questions
probably
about that
very,
program too.
yeah, it was probably really profound, because she went, she's written me all kinds of testimonials, and referred all kinds of people to me. If she was sitting here, she would tell you the same story, because it was just an amazing transformation. And that's the kind of things. Now, that's somebody who needed that program and needed a lot of ongoing care. Then there's other people who just have gotten a bit lost, and they need direction, or they need clarification. And a lot of cases too, people need confirmation of their own. This is where spirit comes in. They say this is one of their major jobs, is to give us confirmation of um, our own intuition and our own wisdom. Because a lot of times we'll get information, we'll go, oh, that's just wishful thinking, or that's my imagination, or something. But when
Well,
you actually have somebody giving it back to you, then it seems real. Sorry, go ahead.
well, a significant aspect of your work involves helping others with their tuition
Yeah,
and helping them to trust their intuition.
yeah.
What advice would you give someone struggling to listen to their inner voice amidst all this noise of the external world?
Take action. Okay, that's the biggest thing. Because if we don't take action on those intuitions, or you're a man, men love to use the word gut feelings. Okay, they don't
Yeah,
like intuition or anything like that. They love to say, well, I got this gut feeling. And I
yeah,
say, okay, well, do something about it. Okay, because the reason that's so important is it shows the universe, number one, that that's the direction you want to go in. Okay, and then it's a yes to our guides and angels, because, this is the planet of free will. And if we don't somehow demonstrate a yes, like our angels can't just jump in and start helping us, because that would be going against our free will. So if we get one of these intuitions and we act on it, like, oh, I'll just give you a simple example. Say you've got this feeling that you just need to talk to this person. You don't know them really well, but you just need to have a conversation with them, or you just need to connect with them. Well, send them a text, send them an email, call them. Oh God, you can actually pick up the phone and call them. But see, then you've got the energy going, and then your guides and your angels go, oh, he got the message. Okay.
wow,
So we now know a way that he's going to respond to our help. So they'll start using that, because if you just ignore it and you don't take any action, they don't know that you've gotten the message.
right.
Okay. So they'll try something else. They'll keep, spirit will keep trying all kinds of different methods until you respond in some way, because that's the only way. Even, I've even said to people, even if you just sit there and go, thanks guys, I got it. Okay, sometimes I've just done that, and it's amazing. But you have to remember, talked about that flow going both ways. You
Yes.
got to have that response. You got to have that flow. And if you don't have that flow, they don't know that they're getting through to you. So
Well,
that's very important.
the last point I want to discuss, and you hit on it a moment ago, is your create the life you want program, which is so intriguing. How does it specifically cater to an individual's needs, and could you share a success from your program?
Well, it's the reason I don't even like to call it coaching, because it's so different than regular coaching. It really has a very loose structure. It's sort of a framework that I built, and because it's so individualistic to each, it's so unique to each individual. And even every like we do two sessions a month, and each session I never know what's going to happen in the session until I get into it, because it's all totally spirit led. Like sometimes it'll be more of a talk session, sometimes it'll be more what most people would consider closer to being kind of like a reading. Sometimes it's I'm doing a lot of talking, sometimes it's the person I'm working with that's doing a lot of the talking. It's really very, very extremely unique to each individual person. And it's based on some interesting things. Okay. Number one, it's based on the objectives and the what the person wants to get out of this program. Then it's what spirit wants them to get out of this program, which can be quite different. And then it's a sort of a combination and a blending of the two. So um, I've helped work with people go through all kinds of sometimes. Okay, there's three basic. This will probably explain it better. There's three basic groups that I created this program for. The first group is people who have been through a lot of traumas and challenges in their life. Okay, or are currently going through one. The second group is people who are going through major shifts and changes, okay, major life shifts and changes. And the third group is people who simply want to work on expanding their spirituality and looking at their spiritual gifts. Now, I'll guarantee you that most people who end up in my program fall into at least two of those groups, and sometimes all three at the same time. So that's why it evolves in different ways, because at different times we'll be working on different things. But I've taken people, for example, people getting out of marriages, people who are going through divorces and are in the midst of restructuring their entire life. Okay. Their relationship has changed. They're often changing their work or how they're going to work, often changing their residences, like either in the same city. Sometimes there's major moves involved, like sometimes cross country, sometimes moving to different countries altogether. So there's a lot of things that go on.
Well, awesome. I'm glad we've run out of time, but
Oh
can you
no.
tell? Can you tell? I know, man, but there's another. I'll talk to you about this off camera. What I have some
Okay.
ideas on how we can continue to work together. But can you leave the audience with, any inspiring words, any words from the higher self or from the subconscious mind?
You are doing way better than you think you are.
Hmm.
Okay. We're always so hard on ourselves and we think that we're not doing things right. And we're always, this whole not enough stuff. Believe me, you were born enough and you are doing way better than you think you are.
That is awesome. I mean, absolutely awesome. Okay, Lauren, thank you for coming on the expansion of consciousness. I mean, you really provided a ton of information. Can you give the audience how to get in contact with you, or email address, and what are your upcoming offers? What do you have to share with people?
Okay. Well, the easiest way to get in contact with me is through email, and it's just laurahorwig@gmail.com. You can also go to my website, which is www.spiritspeaks2, the number two, .me. And those are probably the easiest way. I'm all over Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn, da, 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 da. And my programs are individual spiritual counseling sessions. Then I have my ongoing Create the Life That You Really Want program. I also offer an in-person mediumship evening with spirit, but unfortunately, that's only in the in the Lower Mainland in Vancouver, in Canada, because that's where I am, because that's as far as I go personally. Okay. But yes, so I'm available for all different kinds of things. And I'd be happy to work with you. And I always say the people that I'm meant to work with always show up.
Oh, wow. And we want to thank you for coming on. I'm gonna move you to the back office. I'm gonna wrap the show up, and I will come back to talk to you in 1 second. Just give me
Okay.
one moment.
Sounds wonderful. And thank you for having me.
No problem. And I'll say what I liked about it once I come back to you. Wow. And I'm holding my breath the entire time because Laura is very, very detailed in how she works with her clients, and the process of building the intuitive nature of a person, whoever is trying to seek this level of training. And like she said, she had three different categories, and you'll probably fit into two of those. But what a great show. And I want to understand how to use my perspective. I want to perceive better. I want to focus better. I want to have a clearer mind when I'm getting ready to make decisions. In meditation, mindfulness, working with a spiritual coach or working with a spiritual counselor can help enhance you in so many different ways. We talk about the quantum healing hypnosis, and we talk about different ways to change your mindset. And this is how you do it. You align yourself with talented people like Laura, and there are others out there. We've had a lot of people on the show, but once you've figured it out, because there's not a lot that Laura can do or any practitioner if you haven't made your mind up. But once you figure out in your mind, okay, I'm tired of being tired of whatever the issue is or whatever the feeling might be. When you say to yourself, I'm ready, and you give everything, all thoughts of preconceived notions, just let them go. Then you will be able to receive the level of training a Laura or the many other practitioners that come on the show to help you. But I want to thank you for being here with me with this long-winded ending, but I needed to say that was on my heart. We'll see you the next time. Good night.